Hi, everybody. Oh, good. My TV's on in the background. Hate it when that happens. So I'm home today with a sick kid, back in Casper. I did have a short little visit to Montana last week, short and quick. Heidi Foy from Bullfrog Creatives. Sorry, I'll miss the important part there. Let me talk real quickly. I know Paul is with us, and we actually have a schedule, or at least somewhat of an agenda today. So I'll make it real short. I can kind of go on. I'm kind of long-winded for those of you that don't know this yet. So I did adventure to the north, which, it's never a good time. This time of year is not a good time to venture to the north. But for those of you that live in Wyoming, y'all understand this, that the wind comes in sideways here. And I'm here to tell you, there are places that it comes straight down. It is so magical and pretty. You would not believe it. I actually had a really funny conversation with my kids about that. They didn't believe me. I had to send pictures. So it was beautiful in Montana. I met a lot of really, really great people from all over. Poor guy from Texas was in Montana thinking that it was going to be colder in Montana, and it was actually colder in Texas. So he had a good time. For those of you guys that don't know what was going on, I actually had an opportunity to go to auctioneer school. The Western College of Auctioneering used to be in Billings, and now it is in Bozeman. So it was fun. I really was kind of in it for the business side of the auctioneering school, but I had a really good time, and we'll just see. Y'all know I can talk for a long amount of time. Let's see how fast I can go too. Hey, so stay tuned. We have Mr. Paul Brown from Hill College. We'll be right back. All right. So, Paul, thank you so much for joining us. There is a little bit of feedback. Do you have a phone or something also turned on?
Well, I may not can hear you because this speaker doesn't work. So
I can speak up. That's definitely not. Projecting is not an issue. Just make sure you can still hear all the questions.
Yeah. Can you hear?
There we go. Yep, that sounds better. So before we get into our conversation, I do want to give a shout out to Cinch Jeans. They have partnered with me since, probably about July to help kind of just keep me on track and also keep me looking good. So definitely want to give a shout out to them. And then I also want to thank them. I talked a little bit about the auctioneer school. We were supposed to bring items to donate or to auction, and they put a great little men's package together with some glasses and a men's shaving kit that they donated. All the proceeds went to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So special shout out to them. And my auctioneer skills are rough, but I did sell that, I believe, for $75. So I'll take that as a win. My first big donation there. And I did sell a rake for $190, which I think is also something to toot my horn about. Or the rake is just really cool. I don't know. So let's get down to business. As I mentioned, y'all, Paul is the coach and the athletic director at Hill College in Texas, speaking of Texas. So tell me a little bit, Paul, about where y'all are located, and then maybe a little bit about the community.
Okay, we're in Hillsboro, Texas. And like I was telling Heidi earlier, if you would have just hit Texas right in the middle of it with your fish, you're going to hit Hill College. We're 30 miles north of Waco. We're an hour south of Dallas-Fort Worth. We're an hour 20 minutes from Stephenville. There to the west of us, we are Tyler's an hour and 2 hours, less than 2 hours to the east of us. And so we're in a really good location, located right in the middle of Texas, because we can be in San Antonio. And in fact, I have to go there tonight in about 3 hours, 3.5 hours. We can be at Houston in 4 hours. And so everything except Groover, Texas is close to here. There's not that or El Paso, either one of those. That's kind of the extremes of Texas. But Hillsboro, just a 2-year school. We've had a rodeo program here since back in the early 70s. Now, I haven't been here that long, even though I have been here a long time. I've been here for 31 years. I was at Frank Phillips in Borger, Texas for 2 years before I came here. And I was with the Extension Service for a while, but I actually rodeoed for Tarleton back in the earliest of 80s.
That sounds cool. So what types of academic programs do you guys have there at Hill? And what do you see primarily coming through your rodeo team?
Of course, I'm the ag instructor too. I'm the head of the ag department amongst all this other stuff that I have to do.
Many hats.
We most of our ag program is just for transfer on to Tarleton or A&M or SAM or Commerce, wherever the Texas schools or even out of state, any ag program that we actually already have. The academic programs that we have are set up mainly here in Texas or for transferable programs like that. And we send a lot of students to Stephenville. We send a lot of them on down to Bryan, to A&M, College Station down there. We send a lot up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, to the four-year schools that are up there. Mm-hmm. We do have an extensive amount of vocational programs here, though. Like a lot of the JUCO programs around the country, you know, we have an outstanding welding program here. We have an HVAC program that's really good. We have a auto mechanic dealership, auto mechanic program through Snap-on, and they're just an unbelievable type of program. Of course, we have the nursing and cosmetology. So this is like a well-rounded school. I mean, it's you don't come here if you want to go on to four-year school, we're going to set you up. If you want to go for a couple of years and get a trade where you can make a living at it, then we're going to fix you up for that also.
Yeah, I mean, I think for those of you guys that are kind of interested in the 2-year versus a 4-year program, I started at a 2-year. I would like to say that I had a plan and I knew exactly why I went to the 2-year, but to be honest with you, I went there because they gave me money. So, but it really worked out. I mean, they, just like you just said, they really set me up once I left that 2-year to go any direction I wanted to. And I think it's really important to talk about that because oftentimes when kids start as freshmen, they think they're going one way and even not even as freshmen. I mean, it changes. It could change juniors and seniors, but you think you're going one way and then something happens or you get an idea of what else is available and then you're going a completely different way, which is what happened to me. But I had an Associates of Applied Science that really could go any direction I wanted to. Right. Yeah. So
well, you broaden your horizons up a little bit. You know, they used to tell you that through school you're going to change your degree 3 or 4 times. Well, now they don't say that. They still, everybody still does because of the big magic pathways, and they set you on pathways through high school, and so they think everybody knows by the time you're a freshman in high school, you know exactly what you want to do in life. Well, it's not true. Even though you're pointing a direction, and there's nothing wrong with changing it. You know, people think they want to be vets, which is really cool, and by the time they get in here and find out what college is about and everything is, you know, that little animal science degree by itself is not bad. Or, I can go work for a dealer or something and get out of here with a 2-year an associate degree, and I can make, you know, almost as much money doing that as I can going for 10 years and finally becoming a vet somewhere.
Yeah, I think having those options right now at a 2-year are really good.
Yeah.
So let's.
I was just going to say, I get people. I've had them come in here in like a welding trade and go through welding and then go ahead and get their associate of applied science, like you were talking about you did, and then decide, well, I want to go on to school. You know, I want to go on to Tarleton or something. And then they'll go on and finish up their BA or it's a Bachelor of Applied Science and whatever. They add it on to that. And so they get a bachelor's degree on top of their associate degree here. Through a vocational, not through academics. Academics, that's the way they're going to go, but vocational, they don't.
Yeah. Well, I think the different options are really good. So let's talk a little bit about, I'm trying to run through my checklist here. We talked about the community. We talked about academics. Let's talk about housing a little bit. I know that, and I've tried to ask all of the coaches and all the colleges similar, or if not the same questions. So one of the things that we've talked about a lot and something that I faced was a requirement to live on campus. Do you guys have that requirement as well?
We do not. most of my athletic programs here, we do require, or at least put the pressure on their student athletes to live on campus. But the rodeo, this area is such a ranching athletic, rodeo oriented area anyhow. And everybody, a lot of people know a lot of people in this region. And so a lot of them will find places to live and want to live off campus. And so my presidents have always worked with us and allowed it to happen here at Hill College. Now Hillsboro itself, it's a decent sized town. We got Super Walmart, so we're pretty good shape.
What else?
Yeah, it's about 10,000 people, but being 30 minutes to Waco, and you have West and all the Waxahachie's just north of us, and then Alvarado and Rio Vista. There's so many of these towns around that are swamped with kind of rodeo oriented kind of people. Mm-hmm. And I get students all the time that live off campus and drive. Now we still here, we have all of our, we have a covered arena and we have all the stalls here. And so I get kids that will live off campus and still keep their horses and come rope with us all the time. And so that opportunity exists. You don't have to go find your own place to practice because we're still going to have it here. But probably half of my kids don't live here on campus. Mm-hmm. It's enough, and it's a good area. If you look in Texas, there's so many amateur associations, even coming here, being 19 and under, so many youth associations you can still go to. And even if you are, just looking at going to the PRCA rodeos, which I get a ton of those, there's enough of them here in Texas. You just travel to your heart's content. But, we're less than an hour to the north side in Fort Worth. And, that thing's every weekend all year long, except when they're going to have the American coming up, they won't use it. But, that's pretty much anytime you want to go somewhere on the weekend, there's a rodeo you can go to.
Mm-hmm. Which, that's also an added benefit. If you're really looking to, I don't know, if you need to season a horse or you want to bring some young ones with you, it's probably a great area to head. You could get anywhere within a matter of, just like you said, a matter of a couple hours and season a young horse, or at least make sure you're ready for the fall season or spring season, whichever.
There's so many team ropings and barrel racings and stuff around here. You're looking at from the Terrell down to Alvarado to Glenrose to Stephenville to Hamilton, over back to Waco.
Mm-hmm.
This whole area right here within an hour and a half that you literally, back when Boogie Ray went here, and that was a long time ago. This was one of my first years here back in the 30s. I laughed at him because he didn't really rope a lot in the practice pen. And I said, what do you do? He said, I can go to a jackpot somewhere around here every night of the week. And so, that's kind of the point where you are now. It's not quite that anymore, but you can still, I promise you, 4 or 5 nights a week, you can go either rope or run barrels somewhere around this region.
Well, and I would also add too that, not to take away from any of the other regions, but just for rodeo in general, and not just college rodeo, but that's why so many tough competitors come out of that area, because it's a year-round thing. Whereas here, I'm a fair weather cowboy. I'm not going out there right now. And I will say I was tougher, so I did, but it's just a little bit more difficult to stay competitive year-round in this area than it would be for you guys.
Well, we went 10 days ice in, and that's the longest we've ever been without anything. And finally, it warmed up above freezing, and on Friday, and I had a few of those guys just like shaking because they've been inside so long. And I said, "Come on, let's go rope." And so
let's go find something.
Friday and Saturday. In fact, we broke in some of the calves that went to San Antonio yesterday, and so the last 3 days we've done nothing but rope here and stuff. But
and y'all, so what region are you in?
We are in the southern region, so like 35. We live on right here. We're on 35. It runs right through our town, and so everything east of 35 is in the southern region. Everything west of 35 is in the southwest region.
Okay.
So we are closest. Tarleton is the closest rodeo school that we are to. That's to us. We're just over an hour to it, but they're in the southwest region. We're not very far to Weatherford. They're in the southwest region. In fact, we teach there's Glen Rose and Granbury. Both of them, we share a site with Weatherford and Hill College with some of that stuff. And so we're right in the midst of that. And then you look over here, then we go to Athens, and then we go down to A&M. Somehow we catch Uvalde that comes in. You know, they had to sweep over and catch it and pull it back to the southern region, and then all the way down to Lake Charles, Louisiana. And we have a really good region. I mean, I love the southern. I rodeoed in the Southwest region. I coached out there, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, but I love the southern region. Well, our numbers are a little bit lower. Mm-hmm. You know, we're looking probably 300 to 400 contestants, where you look something in the Southwest region, they're up over 500 or something. I mean, Tarleton itself has like over 140 people rodeoing for it. They're like a region in a region. I mean, that's crazy when you look at that. And our numbers are good here. At Hill College, we typically run between 40 and 50 student athletes here. Back in the 90s, and when I really was pushing rodeo and just wanted kids, we actually, the late 90s, we had over 90 people here. We were the largest NRA membership in the country at that 1 year. And now that I'm athletic director and doing all this, I'm looking and saying, I had to be crazy to have that many people. You can't have enough stock for everybody to practice, and then everybody. So I've found out this magic number around 40, where we can all rope, we can all use the arena, we can buck horses, we can buck bulls. And 1 year I had over 20 bull riders. We bucked bulls 2 or 3 times a week. That's all we did was buck bulls. Yeah. And so it's not fair to the ropers. And so right now we've got a kind of a good mix of everything.
Good split. Man, that's a lot of 18 and 19-year-olds to keep track of.
It's a lot of them.
It's like herding cats. That's worse than toddlers.
It's, you know, and this, I tell you why, things have changed. You know, back then, the student athletes you had back then, you know, they worked. Now, I'm not saying these don't work hard. But it's just kind of a different group. They seem more focused, and they know exactly where they want to. The kids back in the late 90s and the early 2000s, you know, they kind of like to play a little too much. You know, they like to play and have fun. These are, you know, I guess parents have instilled in them, if you want to succeed, this is where you need to be. And so they stay focused with it.
Well, and I would add too, I mean, we've talked about it at with some of the athletes that I've talked to as alumni. It's changed. How you can be competitive and stay competitive has changed. It's not just about, it's not as much about going to the rodeo and going to the bar afterwards as it is about being an athlete and being in shape and taking care of your body so that you can keep doing this for longer. And so I think that, I mean, it just changed a little bit.
Oh, it really
I always had some health issues with my back, and so I always had to stay in shape, but that wasn't always the case for college athletes, I think. So I think it's been a good change for sure.
Well, I promise when I was in college, I didn't know what a weight room was. I didn't even know what is that. I mean, I had 12 ounces. That's good. You get the
12-ounce curls.
16 ounces, and so that's workout. Like we have our wellness fitness center here is like super, super great. And I don't mandate that they all go work out, but especially my rough stock guys and stuff, we encourage them, and my time event guys, we encourage them to work out. And I actually have a trainer there that we can put them on whatever they want to work on. They want to work on their upper chest. They want to work on, you know, their core. They want to work with a leg strength, whatever they need to work on. We get with him and he sets them up on a program, what they need to do and work out. I mean, it's a lot more than it was 20 or 30 years ago. And so, you know, these kids kind of know what it takes. And we've had a lot of really good kids come through Hill College and a lot of success. We had like 9 guys at the NFR this year, and it's been about that way for about the last 10 years. Or not, we only have 1 current student, but I'm talking about past alumni. And it just seems like they stay more focused. And now when they come through, we're going to work hard at it because we know we can succeed. You know, we're just as good as the other guys that come through here, and that's where we want to be. And so, you know, my son, he's helped me a little bit. My son's Jake Brown, he's been in the NFR the last 6 years. But my son-in-law is Cody Rostocki, who is the PRCA bull riding director. And so we, you know, luckily I had them both at the finals a couple of years ago, and that was really cool. But in fact, they rodeoed together here at the same time. And, you know, people look, we've had the year that it was the year after Cody, but when Jake was here, I had my son Jake Brown and Sterling Crowley and Shane Hanchy and Corey Solomon all on the same team, and we didn't win the region. In fact, we were only like 5th in the nation that year that we had all of them here. I had 6 guys are NFR, and one of them was a world champion.
Jam up team.
Yeah, we've been blessed and had a lot of good people come through here, and so it's just a great place really to kind of to get your start. I mean, there's so much of it around here that they'll continue. And we had Marty Yates a few years ago here, and Blaine Cox was here, and I mean, I had both of them on the same. And John Dowsh, who hasn't made the NFR yet, but give him another year or two, and this might be his year. Just the Cooper Martin, they were all here during that same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of had a bunch of calf ropers, and then I had the little bull rider this year that was on my team this past year, this Parker McCowan, that was going to school here, and he had to miss one. We only had 4 rodeos in the fall, and he had to miss one of those, so he'd gone to 3 of them. But he was sitting 3rd. He let one bull throw him off, and he was sitting like 3rd in the region. And then he gets hurt at the NFR. And so now he has to sit out all spring. And what we're hoping, cross our fingers, and we'll see how many people we actually get. But we'll bring him back if we can stay in the top 2 of the region, and then he'll get to ride for us once we get to the CNFR again.
Yeah. So let's talk about that real quick. So I know the Southwest region is doing all their rodeos this spring. So what did your region look like?
Well, we had all 5. We usually are split 5 in the spring or fall and 5 in the spring. And we had it set up like that. Well, then Mother Nature came in there. It wasn't anything to do with COVID. Mother Nature came in there, and they kind of told Lake Charles, we're going to show you who's strongest, and wiped half of Lake Charles out. And part of that they tore up their arena. And it wasn't so much. I saw pictures of the arena. I think Justin Browning could have had it, maybe got back, had something to put together down there. But the whole town was without electricity and was flooded for just a month. And so,
oh my gosh.
So he elected that he'd go ahead and move his rodeo into this spring. And so right now we have 4 rodeos in the fall, and we're having 6 this semester. And we were supposed to have, Commerce, we already had Commerce. We had it at the end of January. So we could rodeo in January. It's cool. At the end of January, we had a rodeo. And then we were supposed to have a rodeo last weekend, and the pros, all the frees, and Dr. Wagner, Al Wagner, who is our regional director, that faculty director, they talked, we met, and he was worried because they were actually supposed to be worse at Bryan, south of here, than what we actually were. And so he didn't want everybody driving on the ice and maybe an accident. And so he talked with Brett Britton, who the coach was at Trinity Valley, and they went ahead and postponed that rodeo till the end of the semester. And so we still are at the point where we still have 5 rodeos left. So we're halfway through. The other thing I tell you that's kind of, we're not unique, but it's really cool that half our rodeos are one goes and half of them are long goes, short goes. The Southwest region, all their rodeos are long goes, short goes. And so all of our rodeos are set up on Friday and Saturday. We don't have any Thursday rodeos right now. Now, a couple of coaches we've talked about maybe going back to a Thursday because some of our numbers are getting up. I mean, we're 100 barrel racers. We're 100 breakaway ropers. Luckily, some of the rough stock numbers and some of the others, we've been running about 20 bareback riders and about 20, 25 bronc riders, and then up about 30 bull riders. And so splitting those hadn't been really bad. We'll have about 60 to 70 calf ropers and about the same number of team ropers, have about 30, 35 steer wrestlers, and about 40 goat tires. And so when you're looking at having all that, we could do it. We usually start on Friday at noon. We'll run a Friday slack, a Friday night. If we have to do a little after, we'll do it. And then we come back with a Saturday morning. And then if we're having a short round, we'll do that Saturday night. If not, we'll just have the other perf. And so, like I say, 5 of the rodeos are long goes, short goes, and 5 of them are one goes. The advantage these guys that are wanting to haul a little bit, man, is you come down here, you go to that rodeo either on that Friday or Saturday, and you can go to 3 rodeos that weekend.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, worried Excuse me. I was just saying I was worried. I set my rodeo for the end of March. When I said it, I didn't think nothing about it. And then all of a sudden I turned on a month later and I opened up in the PRC or in the pro rodeos. The PRCA, they had 4 rodeos here in Texas set on that same date. And I'm thinking, oh, what am I going to do? And 2 of them have now postponed and moved their rodeo or canceled their rodeos. But what I did on this rodeo, because of the COVID and because of everything that we have set up, we just said we're not even having a performance. So it's just kind of like the boring high school. We're going to start, we're going to run barrels, buck horses, and, just everything. Start at noon one day and at 10 the next day and be through by 4 or 5 each day.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to do what we have to do, I guess.
Well, and I was just going to add too that I think maybe for your students in particular, just because you are a 2-year college, those kids are still kind of trying to get used to college.
Right.
And so not having to be gone that Thursday and Friday, I feel like is a benefit for you guys, because then they can kind of get used to what that schedule looks like before they're gone so much.
Well, it doesn't take the pressure of having, where there is a handful of rodeos, if you're up Thursday, you're going to have to miss Thursday. Mm-hmm. And so we had changed 2 years ago. We changed here at Hill College and went to a Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule. And so we don't even have classes on Friday. Now the college is open, but we don't have classes. Now there's a couple of labs that they've kind of stuck in there.
Yeah.
But a couple of vocational programs have to have some hours and they have to meet. Mm-hmm. But generally, it works so much better now because you never miss class. Even though we're excused, we're treated as sport just like baseball or basketball or any of those things here. But that now you don't have to miss. You're going to miss Friday. Well, that's fine. You don't have class.
Yeah, no big deal. I think that's a really good idea, because then you don't have that pressure of, being a freshman and your first college rodeo, or just trying to get used to that new vibe, and you have to miss class every week. So I think that's a great idea. And I would say an advantage to a 2-year over a 4-year, it's super, super easy to get lost in a 4-year college when you have, your lectures have 200-300 kids in them. They don't know, and they probably don't care if you're not there.
I tell people the largest class you'll have here is probably, and face-to-face, might be 40. And this was pre-COVID stuff. And because that's about the biggest lecture hall we actually have.
Yeah.
But generally, you're talking about a class size 20, 25 students. I remember even back in the early 80s when I went to Tarleton, we had Cowboy Cat, which was intermediate algebra is essentially what it is. I go in there and said, of course, a lot of us were rodeo people that were in there, but we go in there and said, there's 300 of us in this one room. And I'm thinking, I didn't even know there was that many people in this whole school, and we're in this one lecture hall. And A&M, they have that all the time, and their teachers, there's not to knock on Dr. Al's program. He did a great job down there, but they don't care. Oh, you may have to miss school. Well, you'll just get this big old check X off of there, and then you'll get an F, and then unless you can figure a way to make stuff up. But that's the thing about here. Most of our instructors know about rodeo because it's been so successful here for so long, and they're going to be willing to work with you, even though it's not necessarily a college event. But if you're having to go to the World Finals in Oklahoma City or something, and you just talk to your teachers and let them know, and then you're showing that effort, they're going to work with you. It's really good to work with you. Being at this small school like this, everybody knows everybody. They know your name. They know your face. They know about you. And so that just makes it so much better. And they're excited when you do well. They want to know. Mm-hmm. I get tickled. My welding instructors had guys like Tyler Bingham and Kim and all of them that went down here, went to school here and went through there. And so when he loves to watch the finals and watch anything. And Spur Lacoste was at San Antonio last night. Spur came from Canada down here, and he went through some of the welding classes with it, and he still loves him, and he watches, and they keep in contact, and he watches all these former students that he had in his program, and it just, that kind of excitement that we have on these teachers and the faculty down here is just nuts. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So talk to me a little bit about where you guys practice, and then also what the facilities look like for boarding horses. I know you already mentioned that a lot of kids live off campus. I'm guessing that they probably keep their horses with them, but are there options right there on campus?
There is. We can set up about 70 stalls where at least half of them are covered. We have one big barn that normally has about 30 stalls in it that are at least 12 by 24. I don't want to make little bitty 12 by 12 stalls. So like a 12 by 24, I think on the back wall, they're 12 by 20 stalls. And so we have those that are completely covered, completely enclosed. And then we have two sets down on the bottom. There's about another 20 stalls that half of them are totally covered, half of them are half covered. And then on the back side, I have like 36 more stalls that are part covered that have a little bit of run out on them. They get a little, it depends on how much rain and stuff that we get. Sometimes they get a little muddier. And so we kind of have to watch where we put horses and stuff. We do, here in Hillsboro, we do get a lot of rain at certain times of the year. Our average rainfall here is only like 36 inches a year. I know for you, that sounds like a lot, but really for 36 is not that much. But it's just when we get it typically in late fall or early spring. And so we kind of have to watch the situation on the horses, and we'll have to maybe move some up to our holding pens, because we have a really big complex of a covered arena with another 100 by 100 warm-up area that's covered behind it, in a big meeting classroom concession out there. And so, it's a pretty nice facility for a 2-year school. It is really kind of a good program, a good elaborate kind of facility that we have access to.
Very cool. So specifically talking about kind of recruiting and this next season, are you guys doing in-person like on-campus tours, or are you doing that virtual?
No, we in fact, there was a young lady down here this morning from Minnesota that came down. And then I had a girl from California that came through here this weekend to look at the school and talk to them. And so, we're still doing tours. We can still, you might have to wear a mask, but we can still tour you around and look at the facility, and you can, and we have a pretty extensive scholarship budget. And so with our scholarship program, and Hill College is not a real expensive school to go to anyhow. In fact, if you were to take 12 hours, it would cost about $1,500, or 15 hours, to stay on track where you need to be. You're talking about $1,800. To live on campus, the dorm room is $400. The meal ticket is $1,500. And then it's $200 out of state. That's all our out of state is, $200. Well, most of that, if your grades are good, as long as you're a B student, I can pretty much get your out of state waived. I can give you dorm room. We can cover, part of your meal ticket or part of your tuition fees, to depend on, if you're somebody like Stetson Wright and you want to go to school here, then I can cover everything. So, it just depends on what caliber you are. And then we don't have a one scholar, our scholarships vary. And so with that number of program, the number of people that we bring in here, the stalls are free. That's part of your scholarship. And so it works really well where we can stay and keep that 40 to 50 people in here.
Yeah. So if they are interested, do they reach out to you, or do they need to reach out through admissions?
Probably start with me. And then, because I always get this all the time, and I laugh at people because, those of you that have gone to bigger schools and stuff, you go somewhere at A&M, you have to apply like a year in advance, and you're waiting to get in. And people will come in and say, Paul, I haven't heard anything if I've been accepted at Hill. I said, did you do your application? And they said, yes. I said, you're accepted to Hill College.
Congratulations.
So, slap on the back. All right, we're ready to go. But it is really simple. The application, we don't turn anybody away. And we don't require the ACT or SAT to get into school here. Now, coming to Texas, if you haven't had one of those, you probably will have to take what Texas is called the TSI, and it's an entrance exam to see where you're at, because we still, that's mandated by the state. And so any Texas school that you go to, you'd have to do the same thing.
No matter what.
And we just set you where you may have to be in a basic or developmental class before you step up to it. So
gotcha.
The entrance part of it is really, really simple.
So you did mention that you still have some scholarship money available, and I'm going to guess too you've got some slots for your team this fall.
Yes,
All
I
right.
have. Actually, I'll tell you what. I mean, I do have slots for the right people. Anybody, but anybody who wants to come down, I don't limit it. And so, even though I may give you a dorm room and a couple hundred or something like that, and you just want to come down here and be on the team, I still take people like that. We still encourage, because you don't know who you're going to have a diamond in the rough somewhere. And I remember the first year I ever coached, I had a kid that just walked on, just come down here and walked on. And he ended up winning the region that year in the bull riding and making that was and this was in 1981. I mean, in 91, not 81. I was doing college, but in 1991, because 1991 was my first year here. And only because I love Sonny Sykes so much and I admire him so much. And he established, the whole thing for Sam Houston and everything. But one of the biggest accomplishments I think I ever had when I came in my first year, the very last rodeo of the year was at Lake Charles, McNeese State that year. And Mr. McNeese had won the region, and Sam and us were running for second place. And it came down to the last bull rider, which was that kid, to whether he would ride his bull or not. And he rode his bull and won the region, and we moved ahead of Sam. And that's the first team. That's why I hate to say that it was the first year that Sonny Sykes never sent a team to the college finals.
Wow.
And so I'm sorry, Mr. Sykes, I did that. Oh, that was so good for me.
That's a great start to a career.
Yeah. And I had when I was at Frank Phillips 2 years before I came down here, and I learned enough of what to do up there. But I don't know if you visited with Man from Groover very much, but that was only 20 miles from where I started there at Borger. And I love the people at Borger, and I still talk to their president all the time. And their coach, she's doing a great job. But, my wife told me when we got up there, she said, I'm from Central Texas and I want to move back to Central Texas. I said, we'll see what we can find. And so, God opens a lot of doors for us. And so it all worked out well.
That he does. Well, Paul, we are quickly approaching the 40-minute mark. Time flies because those of us that are in this industry really like to talk about it. And that's the best part about it. So I want to thank you so much for your time. And for those of you guys that are watching live, and for those of you that are watching the replay, thank you guys so much. I think I say this every week. I've been blessed with this platform and I guess the gift of gab, I suppose. But to be able to help kind of share all the college profiles and share more about college rodeo in particular. But I want to thank you guys. And then, of course, a shout out to Cinch Jeans for kind of keeping me rolling. And if you guys have any questions or any colleges in particular that you guys want to hear from, I know the signing day is March 1st. It's coming up real quick. Holy cow, where did February go?
We can sign anytime after that, though. It's still okay to sign after March.
Yes, it starts there, but it goes.
Yeah, it goes till school starts. August.
When's the first rodeo?
Whenever the last day we can get you in school, we have up till that day.
Yeah, so just make sure we've talked about it on this platform before. Be the squeaky wheel. Don't just sit back and wait for somebody to recruit you, because if you have a particular place that you want to go, be the squeaky wheel and reach out and ask all the questions that you need. And again, you want to make sure that it's not just a good fit for rodeo, but also for your academics, and take a look at some other things like the structure and some of the things that we've talked with Paul about today. And we talk about with every coach that we have on. So Paul, thank you so much. I'm gonna turn you off, which always sounds weird when I say that, but I appreciate your time. If you want to chat some more, you can stick around till I kind of wrap it up here, and we can BS a little bit more.
All right.
Thank you. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be back next week for another college profile, and I will get that preview or the promo up so y'all know what to expect. Again, want to shout out to Cinch Jeans and, of course, everybody that tunes in every week. We definitely would not be here without your support. So you guys have a great week.